more fucking around. It's Wild Style Radio. Wild Style Radio.
Stand up and shout.
What is up? Tuesday night tonight.
Happy Tuesday, terrible Tuesday.
Yes, and this is the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show. We are coming to you live from Salisbury Center Studios in Manassas, Virginia, on the Wild Style Network.
So, I hope everybody has caught the fact that we're live because it's spontaneous and we did not advertise.
We didn't advertise it, so yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully a lot of live balls are falling on this live. If not, you're going to catch it later because we always repost when we record. But
it'll be live to you.
No, the reason that we didn't is because you're about to go off on a big anniversary vacation.
That is true.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
30 years.
30 years.
I know.
It's a long time.
It's a long time. You're going to go sail the Aegean Sea, right? You're going Greek?
Is that the Aegean Sea?
I believe so. Maybe where your cruise ship's
I
going.
thought it was the Mediterranean Sea.
Well, I mean, that's the bigger one. I was kind of going with the little sub, sea.
Right.
That's closer to Greece.
Yeah, so we're going, flying into Rome, jumping on the ship, and then sailing around the boot. And
Okay.
Going to a couple of islands in Greece, and then a stop in Turkey.
Nice. You got
And then Naples.
Big tour.
Yeah.
No wonder you're going for so long.
Yeah, it's 8 nights. Or 8 days, 8 nights, 7 days, something like that.
Right. Well, I mean, and you got travel time around all that too.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, because, we fly out on a Friday and make sure we get there and don't miss the ship leaving. So, yeah, it's more like, I guess, 10 days or so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Tuesday night for us because of that.
We squeezed it in. We were able to squeeze this show in.
Yeah, trying to
Which is
keep on
fantastic.
that every other week rotation as best we can.
Yes.
But, stuff gets in the way sometimes.
Like the production man, he's got all this stuff going on nowadays.
He's a hot commodity.
He is a hot commodity. So we were all we were able to lay on John back.
Yeah.
You haven't been in here a month, huh, John?
It's been a little bit. I mean, I was here. I'm here. I'm usually just not here for the podcast lately. So
I know.
it's
We wanted to talk to you because we did our Ozzy tribute was the last show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You were excited about that.
Yeah. I was excited because I know Ethan likes Ozzy a lot, and I figured he would have more to say than I would. But yeah.
Do you have an outrageous Ozzy moment? That's the real. That's kind of hitting the most
feel like
right now.
I think everybody goes with the cliche, the bad moment.
Of course.
I just liked a lot of the stuff during the Osbourne, their little series or TV show. That was kind of where I was primarily introduced to him because I guess I was in middle school at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, I mean, I think it'd probably be something from that show if I had to pick one, but I don't know.
Do you remember when he threw the log through his neighbor's window?
No.
That was
Sharon!
Yeah, that was one of my favorite because evidently there was some type, I can't remember the exact specifics, but there was some type of tension between him and his neighbor. I can't imagine what it's like to be Ozzy's neighbor.
Well, I can't imagine the neighbor being anywhere remotely close to his house. So did he grab
Right.
this log, carry it, a mile,
Yes.
and throw it in his neighbor's?
They were throwing shit back and forth on each other's yards. That's how it started. And Ozzy wasn't involved until the very end of this episode. So it was Jack and Kelly and Sharon. They were all doing this passive shit where they were minuscule type of stuff, like paper towel rolls. And then something ridiculous would come back, like rubber duckies or some crap like that. And then Ozzy, at the very end, caught wind of it and was just I'm sick of all of this, and picks up a log by the fireplace and chucks it through the neighbor's window.
It's his house window or car?
His house window.
Wow. Wow.
And a very Ozzy, he didn't become involved until he became involved, and he was fully involved in a very Ozzy
I
moment.
mean, if you're going to jump in on something, you might as well jump in big enough to end it.
Right. And that's really kind of how the episode ended. Oh, it ended with the police showing up.
Well, it's Beverly Hills.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that was one of my more memorable Ozzy or the Osbournes episodes. I remember that also Jack, that was really when Norwegian death metal was really picking up. And Jack, as a middle schooler like you, John, was pumping that out the window, relentlessly towards the neighbor's house. And of course, he had a big, massive sound set up. So
Of course.
it was loud as fuck, I'm sure, for those neighbors.
I was trying to find the log video to throw in real quick, and then I just stumbled across the top 6 most shocking moments. And the one that kind of now sticks out to me is him fighting with the TV remote all the time.
Oh yeah, of course.
They had like that big system, and it was all try to touch screened and
that was almost recurring. That wasn't one episode. That was over multiple episodes. Yeah.
And you know what's sad is like I see myself stumbling with stuff like that now, and I'm
You're
like,
right.
well, it's like stupid stuff, like trying to get a printer to connect. And I'm like,
oh yeah,
why is this so effing hard? Like, I gotta feel like a younger person comes up and like, oh, I got it, bam, does it. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's like the switch is getting flipped.
Yep. I like with the printer thing, like it's completely off topic, like in terms of rock and roll, but I was a technology support person for a long chunk of my career. And, in my other job, so to speak. And I said my last name is my printer because people are like, Jeff, my printer, Jeff, my printer. like that was like, I knew that was coming next. That was the A number one.
That's hilarious.
Jeff, my printer.
Yeah.
Isn't it good to be needed?
Right?
Yeah. Job security, I suppose.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some good communication, some comments and stuff on a couple of those reels. And
absolutely.
People throwing their favorite Ozzy moments in. So
you brought up your line of ants. That was a very popular moment. Like among many people.
Yeah,
was the snorting ants.
Yeah, and then and then they showed that in the dirt, right? And then also the thing where they're like, "Well, I'm not going to get outdone," and
right.
And so I forget which one of the crew guys whips it out and starts urinating right there on the pool deck, and the other one's like, "Oh, I'm going to lick it up," and Ozzy's like, "Nope."
And snorts.
So a couple of the guys commented that part too. So I mean,
right. I mean, there was also the shit on the walls, right? Like that's another dirt story that I remember specifically with Ozzy, where they just got all shit faced and got out of control and smeared shit all over the hotel walls. Because I mean, you can only destroy so much in a hotel room, right? And then what do you have left when everything's like blasted to the ground? And then you just take your own shit and smear it all over the wall, evidently.
Could be like the Blacksburg house. Anywho,
that's another story for another day. It wasn't Ozzy related.
I don't know if you guys know, you had a short that was going like really crazy with views suddenly. I'm trying to find out what it was.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up at the end of the show.
Sure thing.
It had to be the 5-finger death punch video. The other, obviously the Ozzy thing is carrying on. Like the funeral last week was just brutal to watch.
Yeah.
And there was some kind of talk in and around the Back to the Beginning concert that he and Sharon had talked about assisted suicide and when it got to be too much for him, and then how he suddenly died. There was some thought that maybe it was that, but it came out today he had a massive heart attack. Right.
Yeah, right. So. And I think then in that, like, that was very unexpected. And thank God Back to the Beginning happened when it happened.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or had it happened, fortunately, a couple weeks before that, then it's like, I guess it would have become a big tribute show, kind of like they did for Freddie Mercury.
Right.
But it was just watching them just going through that grieving process was just rough.
And it was also amazing that they did televise that, like that, or not televise it, but they did internet. I'm dating myself there by saying that was televised, but that they did the internet broadcast of that funeral procession. And really, that was obviously of support of Birmingham, the city. So, as a major, cultural figure that they recognize and not shun, like that was very impressive too. So it was amazing seeing the media, just even on that day, if you weren't watching the actual broadcast, like the amount of pictures and stories that were coming out through the day. It was, very a sad and dark day. Yeah.
Well, and so we talked about towards the end of the tribute show a couple weeks ago, the legacy and what his legacy is going to be. And I brought up, the music. It's like, I think now you're going to see people that are now checking out Sabbath and Ozzy that maybe weren't listening to it originally.
Right.
And so now for like a week or so, Ozzy and Sabbath have been the top 10 streams on both Spotify
England as Ozzy Osbourne's casket went by. Inside the hearse, a purple floral arrangement spelling out the legend's name. A sea of flowers, balloons, and pictures flooded the streets of his hometown, touching tributes from so many admirers. His wife Sharon clung to a tissue as tears flowed down her face. She was comforted by her children.
Ozzy!
Yeah.
Purple floral.
Good tribute, but
Right.
That hearse was incredible looking.
Yeah.
I love that hearse.
Mm-hmm.
All glass, the Ozzy in the back.
Mm-hmm. And acknowledge the deep purple, the deep Sabbath purple, along with the black of everything. And of course, that color scheme has always been the color scheme of
Arrangement
Black
spelling
Sabbath.
out the legend. Sharon flashes Ozzy's signature peace
kind of on
sign.
an unrelated note, I have a
final
friend of
thing.
mine that used to be in my hockey circle that lives in California now, and he posted on Facebook. He and his work colleagues had to call up an Uber today, so they were getting an Uber XL, and what rolled up was a hearse.
Oh, wow.
He's like,
all right.
He was like, well, I always was told you're only going to ride in this once, but I guess that's not the case.
I guess you're right. Not enough
It was
business.
a regular Uber?
It was.
That's weird. That'd be like the first Uber driver I would check to make sure the plates were right. He had the pin right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it was, I don't know, maybe someone moonlighting from the funeral home.
That's it. Like, make sure you have that Uber sticker in the window.
Is there back seats? I have so many questions.
Right. Do you lay down?
Does he open the door and the tray just slides the tray out for you?
Right. If you lay down, are you jinxing yourself a little bit by like joining that ride in a laying position?
I think
Are
I
you
would
beating
just,
death?
no matter what it
Right.
costs, just say thanks, but we're canceling.
Right. Uh-huh.
Do you tip? What do you do for reviews? I have so many questions.
All right.
All right.
I'll have to ask and find out all those, if they actually wrote in it, and
Sure.
send me all your questions, John, and I'll ask. All right. So
All right. Shifting gears, and we're shifting gears to something that the boss, Jeff Salisbury, here at the
Yeah.
Salisbury Center, brought to us. And he's around here somewhere, so I figured he'd be up here, fired up for this conversation. Maybe he doesn't even know we're having it.
yeah, so he we do a lot of chatting back and forth, and kind of how the show came to be, right?
Yep. Yep.
Talking about music. When we go out to watch bands, we're talking about music. And so, so Jeff shared a video that was
Jeff Salisbury.
a critic that said, these are my 10 most underrated bands.
Yes.
And that sort of got us talking.
Glam metal, specific to glam
It
metal.
was specific to glam metal.
Yeah.
And, so we were like, yeah, this would be a good conversation to
Absolutely.
have.
Absolutely.
And it's, we didn't limit it to glam metal.
No.
But it's going to be a very broad, it was hard. I mean, there were bands that I'm like, yeah,
Right. That's what I was about to ask you, because this felt to me when I was going through this experience like picking songs, because there's another question like kind of leading into it in terms of there's a lot of underrated bands. There's a lot that deserved more.
Sure.
Even at higher levels, right? So like, how did you define underrated? Because again, we did not talk about this before the show, that how we're going to choose these selections. So it's kind of like, to me, like defining what is metal, like what is actually underrated. Because I wrestled with that when I was making these, narrowing it down to 10 selections.
So of the 10 that I selected, it's different things, but from my standpoint, it's bands that, I think were really good. That probably, and I think your title of your slide is probably the more appropriate one.
Bands that should have been bigger.
Yeah. As opposed to, you can be underrated for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
And so I think, as I was kind of mulling it through my head, I'm like, all right, yeah, this band should have been more popular. They should have sold more albums. They should have gotten more airplay or radio play, all those different kinds of things.
Sure.
So it was a little bit different for each band.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of where I was too, because I think that you could debate this as people have debated me about what is metal and what is not metal, and have a wide definition of that. So in terms of being bigger, there are some bands that have some popularity that I selected that maybe could have had more and deserved more popularity. And there's also some bands that had lesser popularity, but even, from actually maybe for more artistic reasons, they should have received more recognition. And there's some that received a decent amount of recognition that I selected, and we'll get into those reasons as we discuss that.
Sure.
But like, to me, like honing that down to 10 could be changed depending on how you define what is successful, what success like actually is.
Yeah. And I had, another 4 or 5. I started with a list and I kind of tried to hone that down. And,
right.
So
that's what I did
those
too.
4 or 5 that got dropped off. And then as I'm thinking of other things, I'm like, wow, I forgot about this band or I forgot about that band, but I kind of left it where I got it.
Right. How did you do in terms of time period of the bands?
It's somewhat ranging. I don't think it's certainly the 90s and older.
Okay, yeah, I went older also.
But none of the kind of the 2000 bands.
Right.
Kind of teetering on the edge of the 2000s, but
because I still felt that a lot of the bands that I found in newer places still had a chance of being successful.
Sure.
So I didn't want to say that maybe they should currently be recognized more, but they still are producing music that could have them be recognized more. So in that way, my list wound up being older too, because I considered them more classic acts that should have received that better recognition.
Agreed.
All right, cool. All right, well, do you want to kick off?
I can kick off.
All right.
So my first I titled it Bottoms Up Underrated Bands.
Underrated, I like it. And you did it in a bottoms up order.
I kind of bottoms up ordered it, but they could be, I wouldn't say that it's a clear number 1.
Right.
I think, we'll leave the opinion to that, but I definitely, as I was sorting the list, I sort of went from 10 to 1.
Yeah.
And
I did too.
Yeah.
So I did the classic bottoms up format, but of course you can debate all of that till you're blue in the face.
Sure.
Very easily. Yeah.
All right. So my number 10 is Leatherwolf.
Oh, good call.
The Triple Axe Attack.
Great band.
So yeah, late 80s.
Yeah.
It came out of LA. These guys actually doing a little bit more research, things that I had forgotten because they were breaking when we were in college or coming out when we were in college. And so both songs off of both their second album, which was just called Leatherwolf, and then Street Ready, I played on my radio show all the time.
Sure.
And they were kind of in a weird sort of niche. They weren't, they opened for Metallica and Slayer often in LA before they all relocated to the Bay Area. But they weren't quite thrash and they weren't certainly glam metal, which is what was popular in LA at the time.
Sure.
They're a power metal band. So you think kind of like Sabotage.
Sure. Thick, good, heavy sound.
Yeah, and with the 3 guitars, which really wasn't done, and to have those 3 guitar players be in sync, it just makes a fuller,
rich
sound.
Yeah.
And now the band that kind of, I won't say they copied that, but ended up kind of going to the 3 guitar attack is Maiden.
Yep.
After Adrian Smith came back into the band, they didn't get rid of Yannick Gers. They kept them, and now they're playing with 3 guitar players.
Sure.
And some of their newer stuff that way is got that similar type guitar sound, that fullness feel. So yeah, Leatherwolf was number 10 on my list.
Great call, man. Great call. So I did not have that band in my consideration, but this is going to be one of these things like I'm going to be like, oh yeah, Well,
and I know that certain bands that are probably I'm anticipating would be on your list. And the same thing if Lou comes up. There are bands that I know from our conversation.
The Killer Dwarves are coming out when Lou comes up. Yeah.
So there are bands that I chose to maybe leave off my list, knowing there's going to be a conversation about that band.
Right. And when I say the Killer Dwarves are coming out when Lou walks up the stairs, it doesn't literally mean that, axe wielding dwarves are going to be like coming at us. It means that there was a band called the Killer Dwarves that he was absolutely like in love with, which is a great band too. But actually, they're not on my list. I'll make that a reveal right now.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to say I'm really kind of starting out with almost some more commercially recognized bands.
Okay.
But I do think they deserved better recognition. So I almost feel like I started my top 10 with that. And then as I moved down my list, I felt like those smaller, lesser known bands were better qualifiers, right? So I'm going with a band that a lot of people know for tragic reasons, which is Hanoi Rocks. And so Hanoi Rocks is known because their drummer Razzle was killed, rather infamously by Vince Neil in the auto accident that ultimately destroyed this band. And I think that's what they're known for by most people. Razzle was the guy in that band called Hanoi Rocks, which was a part of that tragic accident, which actually we've talked about it, significantly changed Motley Crue.
Yep.
You know, and the music that they were doing at the time.
For sure.
But we've also talked about Hanoi Rocks. I'm wearing the shirt too. You know, off and on from time to time. This is, to me, is where glam metal starts. I didn't stick, by the way, with glam metal. I'm just starting with a glam metal band because the look of this band and the sound of this band really is what kicked it off. And Motley Crue gets a lot of that credit because they were more commercially recognized with hit songs. But Hanoi Rocks, and also, by the way, they're from Finland. They're not a U.S.-based band. Kick that off. Motley Crue had their sound and recognized that parts of their sound came from Hanoi Rocks, as well as pretty much any early glam metal bands, and morely recognizable, I feel like, in Guns N' Roses than anywhere else. Michael Monroe as a frontman is a beast, you know, and he's like really that true glam frontman. The look of, to me, that era of 80s glam really originated with them and didn't necessarily originate with Motley Crue.
Sure.
Because if you looked at them at their Shout at the Devil and Too Fast for Love, you know, appearances, they looked very different, and they went glam after that accident with Theater of Pain. Right.
And certainly, and it's interesting that you had them there because actually my number 9 is funny. Hanoi Rocks.
That make me feel better about picking this because I was a little afraid they were too popular for this pick.
There's my slide.
All right, love it.
So, but you know, you look at that picture of the band, and some of the things that instantly come to mind is I see Izzy Stradlin.
Easy.
So, you know, there are a lot of the latter 80s, it was definitely evident in their style, their dress, to a certain extent, their music.
Yes.
You know, they were clearly influencing those bands.
Absolutely.
So from that perspective, and unfortunately, and there's a couple of bands on my list that, you know, probably would have been bigger if certain things hadn't happened. And Hanoi Rocks, like you talked about, is one of those.
Right.
Maybe they would have been huge had the accident not happened. And, you know, that splintered the band.
Right.
In 85. And then Andy McCoy and Michael Monroe tried to pull it back together in the early 2000s.
Right.
I don't think that was going to happen during that time frame.
Sure.
Musically. And then they sort of went their separate ways again. So, you know, from that perspective, they're underrated, and I don't think a lot of people recognize the influence they've had on a lot of those more popular bands.
Absolutely.
And, you know, what they laid the groundwork for.
Slash has a story, Slash of Guns N' Roses, of selling a guitar when he was a struggling, you know, startup artist to see Hanoi Rocks. Like, he was selling a guitar to get a Hanoi Rocks ticket, you know, in Los Angeles when they happened to be in Los Angeles. So, like, obviously, like, as a big fan of the band, he was willing to kind of do that. The other thing, too, just to even speak to their music, there's a song that I just still listen to, like, over and over again to this day, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, which... It's almost like before pop punk even happened. There's not necessarily even a traditional glam metal sound that you would associate with, like, say, a Warrant or a Poison. That's missing from Hanoi Rocks. Obviously, their look is very derivative. Poison and Warrant, you know, from Hanoi Rocks, they look a lot like those guys, but the sound is very different. So I'm appreciative of that. I love the fact that they had this punk influence on their metal. And even though I feel that they're the inventors of glam metal, certainly that way of their appearance, but their sound is much wider than that.
Right.
So, like, listen to them. If you don't like the look and you're not a glam metal person and that turns you off, the sound is much different.
It's completely different. Yeah. And the pop punk comparison, I think, is a good comparison because a lot of those bands sound very similar to Hanoi Rocks with what they're doing. So, and I'm stoked because we're going to be able to see them.
Yes.
Michael Monroe opening up for Buck Cherry. So,
which will be my first time for that. Like, I'm thrilled that I'm finally seeing Michael Monroe.
Right.
Yeah.
I've seen Andy McCoy because in the band that spun out of that Shooting Gallery, they opened for Kiss when Kiss released the Revenge album. They did a 10-show club circuit. Cool. And they opened for them at Hammerjacks.
Very cool.
So that was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, you jumped into your 9. You want me to hit you with my 9?
Sure.
Again, another, to me, a bigger act with, you know, recognition in some areas. And I don't know if you found yourself doing this, but I found myself really gearing into the East Coast of the United States, and especially Washington, D.C., because locally that's what we've been exposed to.
Right.
Like the New York to D.C. to Atlanta, kind of East Coast board. It's really easy to draw on a lot of the local bands that we were exposed to, at different points in our life. And the Bad Brains I caught late. And I would not say that this is an unrecognized band in terms of a lot of artists, especially punk artists, that have recognized the impact of the Bad Brains. This almost like when you go to like deserving more recognition and deserving more success, these guys to me are a shoo-in for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And even though they didn't have, we talk about that, and I remember you going on your radio interview to support Aerosmith as one of the top 5 American classic rock bands. And a part of their criteria was commercial recognition. That's where I feel like the Bad Brains have everything but commercial recognition. Sure. And you don't necessarily need commercial recognition to have broad impact. So they invented hardcore in a pocket when a lot of hardcore punk bands were localized. And you would come up with a city sound. So the most famous of that being grunge and the Seattle sound, and the evolution of punk and hardcore with the big bands that came out like Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, coming out of that scene. All of them will, state and recognize Bad Brains as a huge influence, as well as even glam metal acts, or I don't know if you want to just kind of call them classic rock acts like a Guns N' Roses. But the live energy is amazing, and of course the music is amazing, and it was original and inventive. And it may not sound that way now because this was coming out in the early 80s, but it was certainly that way then. Not much sounded like the Bad Brains, and their live energy, of course, translated into great live shows that a lot of musicians still talk about to this day. Well,
and they were a little on the front edge of that cusp of when grunge and alternative music popularity started to break out. Like they were huge on the college radio circuits, but they weren't necessarily recording and touring as much in the in the 90s when all of that stuff was starting to burst out. Had they been just a little bit later, maybe they would have had some commercial success. I'm not sure with their music that it would have been that wide ranging, but great band.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and of course, support and love for DC. So the DC scene, probably one of the best bands that ever came out of Washington, DC. Certainly mentioning at least in the top 3.
Yep.
All right. What else you got, Kevin? You want me to keep going?
You can do the next one.
Yeah, because they kind of piggyback, right? So like, and again, like I went with a bigger name. So like I could have gone, by the way, 2 names because it gets back to Ian MacKaye. And I went with Fugazi as opposed to Minor Threat. 2 like great punk rock acts that came out of the DC scene, just like the Bad Brains, but a little bit later. And like they will definitely be influenced by the everything about the Bad Brains, their music and performances. I like to kind of think of Fugazi like as somebody that deserved better or somebody that deserved more and almost could have had it. Like they had a lot of major label offers that they refused to turn down in a really kind of like a true hardcore punk way and staying nuanced to the scene and refusing to sign to a major record label if they weren't going to get, basically I think the Ian MacKaye rule is that all CDs had to be less than $10. All shows had to be less than maybe $15. And they refused to have anything charged more than that. And of course, no record label would agree to that. So they almost turned down and made themselves underrated, as crazy as that sounds.
Well, so by doing that, they remained alternative.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. They never, as a lot of bands struggled with the mainstream, they had never had that struggle. They stayed pure. Yeah. All right. So again, another nod to DC for me.
Awesome. Well, so
they were, sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
They were also more influential, and so many people don't realize how many people they influenced, from Foo Fighters, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, a lot of the Seattle sound.
Absolutely.
They shot themselves in the foot because they are a great band, great music. But even today, I would love to book them here. But they're so straight edge, like they won't even, like the tickets have to be a certain price, no alcohol, like so many things. And, good on them for sticking to the guns, but.
Sure.
Man, they missed out on an opportunity.
Yeah.
For
Well, and
themselves.
obviously,
it's not like the other ones who like Kicks. I think the record label screwed them over.
Yeah.
But I think that Fugazi just sort of stuck to their guns and stayed alternative, I guess.
And that's why I chose them, because they were such an anomaly. They made themselves underrated. Like, if there was one band that like pulled that off, and record companies were chomping at the bit to sign that band in the early '90s to go along with the whole rock scene that was happening.
Right. Well, and obviously Dave Grohl being from this area, growing up, that was the time that they were on the scene.
Sure.
So, and then for him to transplant to Seattle, so
right.
He brought some of that out there. I'm sure there were people that knew of them and had seen them, but it certainly had that influence on the Seattle music scene.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I've seen interviews with like Eddie Vedder and some of them. They'll say Fugazi is one of their biggest influences.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
So my number 7, I have Alter Bridge.
Oh, nice. All right. That's interesting. All right.
So, still a band that's relevant. They're still out there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a lot is made out of the couple of Creed reunions. And obviously the band is, with the exception of Miles Kennedy, we're all original members of Creed.
Exactly.
And we've had this conversation, but Alter Bridge musically, I think, is a million times stronger than Creed.
Right.
But they've had a couple of hits or songs that got some decent radio play. But aside from that, not too much.
Right. I'm surprised. This is a surprise from your list. I was not expecting you to bring that one up. And I love Alter Bridge. And you know me, I love Miles Kennedy. He's one of my favorite active, frontmen that's out and about. So that's kind of a part of it, right? Like, they're still active. And will they play again? Will they play again as Alter Bridge?
Right.
Because Creed has just recently had some touring success.
Correct. Yep.
And you see,
and they're talking about recording together.
Right.
So,
right.
And obviously Miles just released another solo album. So, and supposedly he's going back out with Slash. So
right.
It seems like he's using those projects to fill gaps.
Exactly.
And that probably has limited them to a certain extent, because they fall off for a few years and they're not as relevant. And then all of a sudden, hey, there's a new Alter Bridge album coming out.
I love the 2014 album Fortress. Like, I listened to that album again and again and again. Can't get enough of that one. Calm the Fire is a song on that. Like, Miles' vocal prowess is just phenomenal on that song.
Yep.
And so it's not even just, the notes that he's hitting, but the way he's hitting them. It's powerful and strong. And I go back to that album all the time. So excellent. I would not have brought them up because I would still consider them kind of probable to maybe gain some.
Sure.
And hopefully gain some additional success.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
I can go again.
Do it.
All right. Next on my list, this is where I think a band could certainly be bigger.
Yeah.
And they're, in my opinion, they've been not limited, but they fall in the shadow of the big four.
They're number 5.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we've had this conversation.
I love Testament.
And Testament's been around forever.
Yeah.
Since 88, 87 is when the Legacy album came out.
Sure.
And they were very consistent. They had a 4-album run of just phenomenal albums.
Yeah.
They've released 13 albums.
Yeah.
So they're out there, they're still doing stuff, but they have never had they have not been as big as any of the big four.
Right. And you're right. Like, the consistency, I love that you use that word. They never felt like the need to experiment with new metal.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, in the Slayer way. You know what
Sure.
I mean? Like, and it, okay, fine, that's great. Or do a Metallica Lulu, kind of move.
Even a Black Album. They are thrash.
They're thrash.
They know what they are.
Right.
They do it well. They've done it consistently. And with the exception of the one album that Megadeth released, it's kind of what Megadeth does. They're like, we're thrash. We're going to play fast. We're going to, it will evolve a little bit here and there, but we're sticking to what we know and what we do well.
That was the AC/DC joke. Evidently, like, a interviewer was interviewing Angus Young, and he said, "Are you offended by the fact that when you hear that you put out 10 albums that sounded the same?" And he said, "Yes, I am offended. We actually put out 11." And that's kind of like the Testament. Right. This is what we do. So why would we change the formula? We do it damn well, dude. I love that. I love that. Of course, Testament is always on my radar in whatever way. I would consider them of having some type of like at least recognition in the thrash community.
For sure.
Yeah.
But that's where it is. So,
right.
You know, you're always going to have that. They're part of that debate of who's the next four.
Right.
You know, so it's, you know, Pantera maybe.
Sure.
Exodus definitely, because they were around at that time. And so was Testament to a certain extent. But they all kind of live in the shadow of the other four.
Right. You inspired, you know, I'm going to shift gears on you. You inspired my next pick, you know, as I go, because I felt shamed when I left this album off. I think when we were doing the 40-year, you know, top bottoms up at the beginning of the year, you know, for 1985. We're talking about 2025 because this band was so bitching, and I was like, how could I forget Rough Cut? So like I had to go with Rough Cut. I mean, what an unrecognized band and a great, talented band and a glam band, I guess, so to speak, from the 80s. But they definitely had a bluesy and a thicker sound. Then again, if you get to like a Poison or a Warrant, which has more of a pop sound to it, and driven by a singer that I love, Paul Shortino. Right. So 2 great Rough Cut albums with Rough Cut, the self-titled album, and Wants You that followed that. And then, you know, if you wanted to kind of deviate from Rough Cut, a band that had a lot of success was Quiet Riot, and Paul Shortino sang on their self-titled album and done it very well. But either way, that goes back to me. But, you know, I didn't really know this, but they're still active.
They are.
Yeah, and I was surprised, like, to really kind of, when I was doing a little bit of homework and research on this, I don't know where they're active, though, because I haven't seen too much in social media or other media from them.
Right. Yeah, they released an album in 2019, I think.
Yes.
So, and they're actually higher up on my list.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you're the one that turned me on to this band. So, you know, always, every time like now, you know, on my phone or whatever, I scroll through and I'm like, oh, you know, I'll throw it on when I'm working out. And I'm like, wow, this was just so great back when we were in high school. And and Paul Shortino's departure to go to Quiet Riot is what basically did the band in.
Exactly.
I mean, they've had some famous, you know, Jakey Lee was the original guitar player in the band.
Yes.
He left to temporarily join Rat.
Correct.
Before he got the Ozzy gig.
Right.
And then Craig Goldie played guitar in Rough Cut for a bit before going to Giuffria and then Dio. And the other interesting tidbit I found was that Wendy Dio was their manager. And she's the one that told Shortino and got him the opportunity to move to Quiet Riot.
Excellent.
So the manager actually ended up killing the band.
Right.
So it's like all interesting, but yeah, great band, definitely underrated in the late 80s.
Right. Absolutely. So yeah, so I couldn't resist. I could not pass on Rough Cut this time. And again, great songs. I mean, that's the beauty in this whole conversation. If you're not knowing these bands or hearing these bands, that's the beauty of streaming. You know, that's the great thing about streaming. You can go find this very easily. It's not like you have to go back out like we had to do in the record store. If you heard about a band, you took the risk by dropping the money over the counter, and hopefully you're going to like this album. And I've gotten a lot of dog albums that way that I was disappointed in. So Rough Cut was not one of them, though.
No.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right.
So the next band I had on my list, and they were on the original list that Lou shared with us. So, and I'm sure this is going to gain some traction in conversation.
Killer Dwarves?
Nope. Badlands.
All right.
So they're next on my list. You know, 2-album run, phenomenal band.
You're bringing up Jakey Lee again, like you're, and it's kind of like interesting.
And now John's sharing all of my list.
In the shadow of Ozzy.
Yeah, you know,
we're talking about Jakey Lee.
So yeah, Jakey Lee. This is the band that came together after he left Ozzy. You know, just talented musicians. Greg Chase on bass. Eric Singer, who was a phenomenal drummer with Alice Cooper. When Badlands fell apart, he went to Kiss.
Sure.
And then obviously the voice, Ray Gillen.
Of course.
You know, between
Tragic
Jake and Ray.
A great lead singer.
Which is actually what did the band in.
Sure.
But, you know, we'll let the boss jump in on this one.
I know, right? That's your band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely probably would have been my number one, along with Kicks maybe. But you just can't beat his voice.
And you were in a band that opened for them, right? Did you guys open in the Fifth?
Yeah. No.
Midnight Suite?
Midnight Suite.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right.
That's when we were over, and I got the autograph.
Yes, that's where I was going. That's where I was going. So, like, I wish that we had camera phones back then because there would be pictures of that, which would be fantastic. But evidently, our boss here, Lou, being a big fan of Ray Gillen, wanted a signature, like on a denim jacket, I think that you had at the time.
My old heavy metal jacket with the zebra stripes. And,
right. So, it's the
patches,
Sharpie on the denim
pins,
jacket.
all that.
Right. So he assumed the bent over position with hands on knees in front of
It wasn't a good look, but like that was somebody we stalked him to their hotel. Yeah.
And then he bent
so I
over.
could go get the autograph because he just to me he has one of the best voices I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Well,
when he was finished with you, he signed your back and then walked away.
Yeah.
and I think
little did I know he's going to die from AIDS, so I should have been a little bit more careful.
Well, and this is a band that, I don't think, and there's a couple bands that at least I'll talk about that I have on the rest of my list that I think Atlantic Records failed them.
Right. Yeah.
They did not give them the push that they deserved.
Right.
And it seems to be a general theme with bands. Atlantic signed a ton of bands in the 80s, but they never really pushed them very hard. So they got their videos, they got some MTV play, but there was not enough marketing push behind them, in my opinion, where they probably could have been much, much bigger.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was sad that those guys and Kix came up at the right time, and they weren't any bigger than they were.
Yep.
All right. I think this is probably, I don't know if it's the deepest, like in terms of like maybe a more obscure like band to find to go, but a band that I really loved and I still kind of listen to off and on from time to time. So my number 6 is Smashed Gladys.
I had that, and then they ended up dropping off that list. I don't think they could release that album these days.
Exactly, right. So it's a little bit of where I go. Right. Like we're talking about the beauty of streaming.
Yep.
Oh, right. You're talking about like in terms of right.
Legs up. And
Yeah. But it was a woman singing it.
Yeah.
It was.
A woman singing very sexual songs, and that's in a gritty way. Like, you know what I mean? Not in like a vixen.
She had more balls than most guys.
Sally Cato.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was the name of the singer. So this also was a band that was found, a Canadian base originally that moved to New York, but Gene Simmons was their manager.
Yep.
So Gene Simmons was promoting this band. And that's what I love about that. In the mid-'80s glam era, these guys, and I don't have them, and I love you guys, and I'm sorry. Like you're like number 11 on my list with Spread Eagle, which has like obviously the name of that band has that sexual connotation too. Like another New York band, dark-haired band as opposed to the blondes, coming out of LA. So like they have that East Coast street metal feel to it. Like in the middle of the 80s, like Spread Eagle, which was gritty and like Guns N' Roses, as opposed to, again, more of that pop feel that's coming out of LA around the same time.
Yeah, another New York band that would have made my list maybe, or would have been top 20 for sure. Parade of Losers, another New York band.
Yeah, man, I forgot. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
They were another one that sort of had that. They were more of a punk band, but they still had that like grungy New York. It was like almost they were a cross between like a Smash Gladys and the Beastie Boys. You know, like enough hip hop, but also enough rock.
Right.
Loved them. Yeah.
Smash Gladys, though, like if you listen to the tunes in a Guns N' Roses and a Spread Eagle way, they're partying hard.
Yep.
Like they're bringing it hard. It is sex, drugs, and rock and roll at its grittiest, which is fun to listen to with a great gritty female voice. Kind of almost like a lower register. It wasn't gravelly like you're hearing in like a lot of hardcore and grindcore now, but it had an edge to it.
Almost like a better Joan Jett.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so there's at least one viewer watching the live broadcast. So our pal Eric Magruder is chimed in. So going back to Rough Cut, which is actually good timing to bring this up because that's the next band on my list.
All right.
It's where I had Rough Cut, but. Eric was saying that Paul was great in the Here in Aid documentary.
He was, absolutely.
So.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Eric.
All right. So next on my list, DC area band, another band that, I think they weren't as big as they could have or should have been for a number of reasons. And again, they were signed to Atlantic Records. So Wrathchild America.
Love them. Yeah.
Later became Souls at Zero. But yeah, so they had 2 albums that were released on Atlantic. Both great albums.
Climbing the Walls.
Climbing the Walls. So Climbing the Walls, London After Midnight. They did a phenomenal version of Pink Floyd's Time.
Oh, yeah.
That was on that album.
Absolutely.
And, so we've got to see them a few times.
Yep.
That one, the Kick show at the Patriot Center that you may remember or may not remember. But
that was before Bacardi 151 was banned.
They opened up.
He remembers that one.
They were the first band because there was a middle band opener. I can't remember who it was, but they came, and that was the first time I had seen them, and they just blew me away. And they said, "Hey, and maybe if you, after Kicks is done, if you want to come out to the Copa, we're playing the Copa tonight, which is Jack's,
Right.
Right.
Wild West, Zach's.
Yeah, Zach's. So, and then
Fire
shortly,
for younger kids.
shortly after that is when they released Climbing the Walls.
Absolutely.
And so I saw them a couple times at Hammerjacks. Phenomenal live band. Brad Divins, who was also on Cool Kids with Kicks, was the bass player vocalist. Shannon Larkin, who ended up.
I was waiting for you to go there.
Ended up.
Godsmack.
Went on to a little stint with Ugly Kid Joe and then Godsmack. But yeah, great band. Didn't get a push. They were Wrathchild and got sued by the band in London, in England,
the original Wrathchild,
which is how they became Wrathchild America.
Correct.
And then, when they got dropped from Atlantic, they kind of decided to rebrand and became Souls at Zero and released an EP and 2 full-length albums. But great band. And Brad and the folks just announced they're actually working on reissuing all of their material and as a box set that's coming out later this year.
Cool.
So for those that maybe can't or haven't heard them,
Right.
you're going to be able to check all that stuff out.
Love it. You did a great sell on Wrathchild America. So, I don't have them on my list, but I probably put them at 12 or 13, right?
Sure.
They're going to be right behind where I am with Spread Eagle on that one.
Jeff, I have a bit of trivia for you.
Uh-oh. What?
That you might be able to pull off. I don't think Kevin
Is
can.
it from that night at the Patriot Center?
No. This is what is my connection to Wrathchild America?
Your connection?
Yeah.
Jeff Salisbury's connection to Wrathchild America. You're going to say this, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Damn it. College. I always blame this on college.
I'm Eskimo Brothers with Shannon Larkin.
Are you?
Crazy Lori used to date him before she dated me.
I did not. Oh, that's. Yeah. I do remember now.
Yep.
I remember that. That is funny. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, she stopped dating him and then started dating me.
So do you feel like you stole Lori from Shannon Larkin?
No, I feel like he threw her off to me. Too bad she was awesome until she wasn't.
Yeah. Maybe Sharon Larkin felt the same way.
Yeah, that happened a lot back in those days.
Yeah, I did forget about that. Yeah. There you go. All right, well.
I didn't think you forgot anything, especially when it had to do with humiliating me.
It might be a little bit of a badge. I don't know if that's humiliation.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Excellent. All right. Well, I know you were my roommate in these days in the next band that I'm going to bring up. And we saw them, and I still love them. One of the best live bands out of New York City.
Oh.
Had some local success, and man, they were super fun with the Two Skinny Jays. And I brought them up for 4th of July songs. I brought up the great song Barbecue, which is the coolest, funnest song about a barbecue that I've ever heard. And it's a great party band. They just really never gained enough traction, I guess, to be receiving, I guess, national recognition. Certainly popular on the East Coast. We saw a lot of sold out shows here in Washington, D.C., as well as I know that I saw them all the way down like towards Nags Head and the Outer Banks. They play the beach circuit, in the summer. But a great party. I feel like they were kind of around in the late 90s into the 2000s in the age of nu metal and what we would call rap rock. And there's a definite rap rock element to them, but I wouldn't classify them in the same way that I would like a Limp Bizkit.
What would you classify them as? Because I think they have their own style.
Exactly, right. It's a party style. Like it's almost like what what happened with glam metal when glam turned into just the party, right? Like it wasn't about the grit of the grime, but it was about the party in itself, and they did it well, and they were so fun. Like you're going to have a fun time every time you went and saw the Jays. That was the last show I saw at the Bayou before the Bayou closed here in Washington, D.C.
I think I was there with you.
Yeah. It was around New Year's. So like they had, I think, one show after that. So it was the show before the actual full close.
Definitely. We were both at that show.
Yeah. Loved it. And I was heartbroken. Like I wasn't going to see the Jays at the Bayou anymore.
Yep.
So you could still find these guys in streaming media. Super Mikado, you can find that song Barbecue out there, as well as some other albums, Volumizer and other albums you can find out there. But, I'm lucky enough to have some demos, which include other songs, and catch the Jays if you can.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Next on my list. So I think number 3. So Seattle band, Mother Love Bone.
Oh, yeah. Good band.
So, and obviously there's a particular reason why they they certainly should be bigger commercially.
You brought up like there's several tragic reasons that these bands are no longer performing. Correct. Producing music.
So the lead vocalist, Andrew Wood, unfortunately died of a heroin overdose.
Close friend and roommate of Chris Cornell.
Yep. So, and I think there's a tie linking a lot of the things that went on with a lot of these bands, but obviously, Jeff Ament and Stone Gossard were in this band, and they're underrated because they are the precursor of the Seattle sound. They were out there doing that before, Soundgarden was also there about that time, but they do not get enough credit as to the grunge movement.
Right.
And so from that perspective, I think they're underrated. The album Apple is just a phenomenal record.
Yep.
We were listening to it when it came out. And, I think that was sort of as we started trending in that direction at the time. But, just song after song after song. This is Shangri-La.
Right.
Chloe Dancer, Capricorn Sister.
Right.
There's just tons and tons of great music that, as Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all those bands started to break. It's like, you're hearing Mother Love Bone and that influence in all of their music. So that's why I think they're way underrated.
Fantastic call. And I was thinking, and as you were talking, it reminded me when we were talking about Soundgarden's induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, and how there's more recognition towards the generation of that Seattle sound towards Nirvana, and to some degree Alice in Chains, but really more towards Nirvana, that Nirvana really kind of created that scene, but they're a product of that scene. And really it was Soundgarden and Mother Love Bone that really generated that pocket of punk. And you could also say Mudhoney and Green River. There were some other bands out there too at the time that was really a part of that formation, but definitely unrecognized because of the tragic passing of Andrew Wood, but one of the founders for sure of the grunge sound, not Nirvana.
Correct. Yeah. And so BF Reed, who's also catching us, thanks for joining the show. Said Mother Love Bone are a grossly underappreciated band. And we completely agree with that. And yeah.
So let me ask you guys a question. I feel like there's some bands that were destined to be great. Everybody, this was the new hype, and then they didn't make it because of tragedy like this.
Right.
Do you think that they're the ones who would have gone bigger, or Hanoi Rocks? Because I feel like those were the two out of everybody that I can remember, at least in the rock genre, that everybody was talking about. This is the band. This is the band. This is the band. And then tragedy strikes, and then it goes nowhere. I mean, I'm sure there's other bands that I can't think of, but those two, just top of my mind, are the ones that everybody said was going to succeed.
Yeah, and I agree, because I feel like what you're bringing up to both of those bands, Mother Love Bone and Hanoi Rocks, there's a strong commercial sound to the music that they made. So I think it would appeal to a broad audience. So in other words, if you're listening to this, you never heard the band, I think you just go in and listen to the songs, you'll like them immediately.
Yep.
Who do you think would have been bigger, Hanoi Rocks or?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great. So I see, there's two different time periods almost, right?
I think it depends on if it's 16-year-old Jeff or 22-year-old Jeff who you're asking. Because definitely when I was 16, Hanoi Rocks was one of my favorites.
Sure. But and if you look at when they were really kind of emerging in 82, 83, like into 84, like in and around that time of that accident, that was also the emergence of MTV.
Yeah.
And they're MTV ready. There's no doubt about it.
For sure.
And they were starting to like produce some good videos, and you know that like that was going to continue to escalate in a great direction. Yeah. So like I see them as like an MTV ready.
It was a Dead Jail of Rock and Roll that was like crushing it on MTV.
But that's Michael Monroe's
solo.
That
was his solo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, then at the same time, if Andrew Wood had not have passed away,
right,
they would have been riding the crest of that wave.
Yep.
With the grunge sound. Yep. So, the question then becomes, there may never have been a Pearl Jam, or
right.
some of these bands that spun off out of Mother Love Bone,
right?
So it would have been them and Soundgarden,
because you
definitely.
Had Stone Gossard, and
they would have beaten out Nirvana because they were coming out before Nirvana. They were the hot thing,
right.
Even before Soundgarden, but Soundgarden had been out,
right? Correct, yeah.
These guys were the new hot thing coming out of Seattle,
yep.
Before Nirvana, so maybe even Nirvana might not have gotten the same shine.
Right, yeah, well, and they had a major label deal where Soundgarden and the other bands were doing the Sub Pop thing, So yeah, I think Mother Love Bone would have probably been pretty big.
Yeah. So right, so I could see that too. Exactly everything you're saying. In some ways, it's more tempting to say that Mother Love Bone would have had a broader appeal more quickly than Soundgarden. Because Soundgarden, almost like in the Fugazi kind of way or in the Bad Brains kind of way, we're just going to stick to the sound that they had, and they didn't care if it had that commercial appeal.
Yeah.
And Mother Love Bone did have a commercial appeal to its sound.
Yeah, definitely the first three Soundgarden releases, it was
right.
They had their sound
exactly,
and they weren't deviating too much.
They weren't compromising at all. There was no Black Hole Suns.
Right.
Yeah.
We got another comment from Mike Sanzata. Ooh. What about Jellyfish?
Yeah, right.
Definitely an underrated band.
Yeah. I don't have them on my list though.
No, and it's like we said, this is not a definitive list in any way. It's just things, that we feel bands could be bigger or underappreciated. And I think everybody there's a million, like we said, narrowing that down to 10.
10's like narrowing songs.
Yeah.
So absolutely. All right. Well, don't have Jellyfish. I'm sorry about that, Mike. But I do have, from this local area, a guest that we've had on a show. And here at the Salisbury Center was the Shack, Jimmy's Chicken Shack.
Look at that picture.
I know, right? And that was Jimmy Haha, the young, lean and mean Jimmy Haha. And he's still lean and mean. He's just maybe not a little bit as young as he used to be.
Yeah, not as mobile as he used to be, unfortunately.
Very light sensitive.
Yeah, that too. That was for you, Scott and Catherine.
Right, Catherine. These guys were the darlings. If you guys went to the HF festivals in the 90s, these guys were the darlings of the side stage. They ruled the side stage. And I saw them in the beginnings in those HF festivals, and they're playing mid-afternoon on the side stage, and they would pack that side stage, ultimately to the closer on the side stage, but they never made the main stage,
right.
And it was kind of like, what happened with these guys that couldn't translate from the side stage to the main stage? Because I do feel they have like a commercially viable sound.
Yeah, they had some MTV play.
They had some MTV play. They had they were the first band signed on Elton John's label when he attempted to set up Rocket Records, right? So like there was some push behind that, pushing the Salmonella Envelope. Fantastic album. I still feel like there's shtick to it that absolutely fits the 90s and the grunge sound very well. But of course with the DC feel, and really Annapolis, Maryland, where they're really from. But, Jimmy's still around, like playing locally in the area. You can find their albums very readily, in streaming media. Although when he was on the show, remember, that was just when they released Seconds. And they were kind of reluctant to do that for payment reasons.
Right.
And we're sticking with Bandcamp at the time. But yeah, so like, it's a curiosity to me. I don't know why they never broke bigger than what they did. They had a top 10 hit with High. So I guess you could say that there was a breakout to them, but never really a follow-up that stuck and was lasting.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Want me to keep going?
Why not?
All right, I'll keep going then. Okay, so I'm going back. I'm bouncing back between DC and New York, and we're going to give some love with another guest that we have pictured here, at least on my shot.
Nice.
24/7 Spies out of New York. This really goes really 27/7 Spies is what a, to me, roller coaster ride of a career for Jimmy Hazel, who's really the main driving engine and the lead guitarist, and is now doing vocals actually for 24/7 Spies. They haven't attained a new vocalist. And when I say now doing it, it's because they've been up and down and off and on and really inconsistent with when they're performing, when they're not performing, when they're making albums, when they are making albums. Tragedy with their original singer, who's really named P Fluid, and I'm not making that up. Or at least he goes by P Fluid. You know, as he passed, we're talking about like unfortunate passings of people, you know, as a part of this conversation several months ago, as part of a delivery robbery, from my understanding, as he was a delivery driver somewhere in New York City. Wow. So very unexpected and tragic, and a lot of bands, I guess, that don't come into like a lucrative career, you know, as they're taking those types of jobs and exposing themselves to other dangers. But Jeff Broadnax, of course, we've had on this show. Yep. Great guy. And he did one album with the Spies, and I think it could be their strongest album, although I love their first two albums along with you know, that what Jeff did. And it's another one. A great fusion kind of approach to their rock. A lot of jazz, a lot of funk, a lot of soul, a lot of metal, even hardcore that was mixed into their sound. And I almost think that when you throw a lot of those elements into that type of fusion environment, people don't know what to do with it. So it's hard to grow commercially. And that's what could have happened here with the Spies and why they never blew up into a bigger act.
Well, I agree.
All right.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So going back to a little bit more metal theme. So my number 2 band is The Saint.
Oh, cool.
Armored
cool.
Saint.
All right. Yeah.
So,
cool.
You know, been around a while. They've had some success. You know, I think we were both a little late to the Armored Saint party.
We were.
Our buddy Damon, he was
yeah.
very much into him early on.
He used to annoy the shit out of us for playing Armored Saint. like we'd be like, "Damn, dude!"
But for a band that has been around as long as they have been, they just celebrated their 40th anniversary, and their first tour, they were the middle band opening for Wasp with another band that was the opening band, which was Metallica. And both of those bands, so for bands that toured together, been around together as long as they haven't had that amount of same amount of success as some of those bands. So, you know.
What a great voice, you know, John Bush. Yeah. What a great voice, and great vocalist, great frontman, and to this day is that. So they're still touring. You can still see him, and I recommend it. Because he's still bringing it. Yeah,
and he's doing a little minor tour. I guess it's, I don't even want to state which anniversary it is, but from when he was on the Sound of White Noise and
Anthrax.
And Stomp.
Fantastic album.
Stomp 442, I think it is. Those two records he did with Anthrax, he's approaching, God, it's probably got to be maybe 30 years.
I was going to guess it was 30.
So he's doing a tour where he's going to perform those Anthrax songs.
Right.
So, and also he's got the band Category 7,
which
is another great thrash band. So Saint was more kind of like I talked about with Leatherwolf, kind of a tweener type band. Not really thrash, definitely hard power metal.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of the more newer stuff he's been doing.
Consistent also. Like their sound's very consistent.
Very much so.
And they've stuck with that power metal formula.
And the band has, for the most part, you know, there's been one or two interchanges, but the band is pretty much stuck together for those 40 years too, which you really don't see.
Yeah, absolutely. So. All right, man. I'm at my number 2, and you know where all roads lead. And I don't have him as number 1 because I have more of I feel like more of a, you know, a personal buy-in to my number 1 that I'm going to release. But all roads go back to Kix. I'm not saying that they didn't have success. I think really kind of what inspired my Kix choice, like for this list, was listening to Steve Whiteman's podcast, which he calls his podcast, not his podcast. There's a lot of great stories that he's telling that where he is interacting with major bands, you know, like that did receive an enormous amount of commercial success. And we've talked about this too. It's another band that had a top 20 hit and I think it peaked at 11, which was Don't Close Your Eyes. But it's kind of like another topic that we've talked about, like songs that don't necessarily represent the band. And Don't Close Your Eyes, Kix had some power ballads, but I certainly wouldn't describe them as a power ballad act. And great musicianship, and have been a great live act for years and years and years. And we talked about like how bands ends and closings, especially with Back to the Beginning and Ozzy just recently. To me, I can't imagine if you're an underrated band and underappreciated and didn't receive the commercial recognition that Steve Whiteman openly admits that he doesn't understand why they didn't receive commercial recognition in the way that they should have in his podcast. There's a lot of conversation surrounding that. But what a beautiful way to end that we were able to witness when we were at Merriweather Post Pavilion, and a band that may have felt underappreciated sold out a major venue. Yep. And it was a beautiful night on a rainy night, and everybody showed up.
Well, and obviously, that's their home base, right? So of course they always draw well locally. And
why that stayed, we talked about this before. Why is that a Baltimore, DC feel? What is it about Baltimore and DC that loves them so much, and they cannot grow that into other places nationally?
Well, and I'll go back to what I was saying about both Badlands and Wrathchild America. They were an Atlantic Records artist.
Absolutely.
And I think Atlantic failed them. Lou mentioned it.
Right.
They did not push them to the extent that they could have. Right. And there are other bands too, Winger was on Atlantic. They never really got pushed that hard.
Right.
Testament
right.
was on Atlantic Records. And, so it's just, I think that's just the way they did it. It's like if you blew up, to the extent of someone like Rat,
right?
Maybe you got a little bit more push from Atlantic Records, but most of those bands did not get enough attention.
They just let you record, and you owed them for the recording, and then go off and tour and make it happen.
Yeah, and so I think that limited Kix's, obviously Blow My Fuse was their most successful album commercially. Yep. And that's where, Blow My Fuse not Blow My Fuse, but obviously Don't Close Your Eyes was off of that. And that was the second video that came off of that. But I'm blanking on what the first one was. So that, they got some airplay. They got a little popularity out of that. Got on some more major tours. But for the most part...
Were you thinking of Cold Blood?
Cold Blood, yeah. And but for the most part, they did a lot of headlining stuff, but it was more regional. They didn't... And they... For whatever that reason was, it just didn't, it didn't stick, didn't blow up. And I think it's, in my opinion, it's mostly Atlantic.
Yeah. And their touring was successful in this area, which is why they became so popular in this area.
Yeah, what I was going to say is you're talking about Cool Kids. One of their highest charting songs was Body Talk.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Which nobody really thinks about it
forget
anymore.
About
but that was a big, kind of a crossover from disco to rock.
Right. And remember Steve Whiteman in the final show was just like, I hate this song.
Yeah.
It was like the one time
it was a great song, but it's kind of like what was the Rolling Stones disco song or Kiss's disco song? They all kind of had one back in that era.
Yeah. I Was Made for Loving You. Little disco Kiss. Yeah.
And Rolling Stones had one too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's gonna get you, girl or boy, or whatever that song is.
Miss You? You talking about Miss You?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but I do remember they had one that was like sort of a crossover disco hit. But yeah.
All right, we just got another comment back from Eric again. Basically blaming Beavis and Butthead for pushing Winger off the cliff. Like not Atlantic Records, but Beavis and Butthead.
And Lars.
Lars was throwing darts. What video was that? Was that Nothing Else Matters?
Yeah, I never saw it.
That's why I put it to you, Kevin. That's why I did it.
All right.
Are you on your number 2 or number 1?
Number 1.
Are you on your number 1?
Yep.
I was slow for some reason.
Well.
Right. Are you going to Kix?
No.
You didn't have Kix on
My
this
number
list?
1 is...
I am stunned.
Captain and Tennille.
Wait, what?
No.
I was going to say.
Of course.
I was right. I was like, you left Kix off this list? Everything leads back to the Stand Up and Shout Rock Show to Kix.
And Dirty Honey.
And Dirty, well, right. So I'm glad you said that because I was wondering, and that's why I said, like, preface this all in the beginning because they are still out and about and doing their thing, right?
Yep.
So they're definitely underrated.
They're most certainly underrated.
But we still have a lot of hope.
There's runway.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. You said what you said about Kix. Did we leave anything out of that conversation?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, it's more DC. You know, I think for us, it's mind-boggling why they weren't bigger than they were.
Right.
So
and more of a 30-year career, and they showed up at every show and played hard live. And we saw a lot of Kix shows in our years. Never saw a bad one. Not even close.
Nope.
All right, so I went very local on my number one that probably many people that are outside of the D.C. area and even younger would have never heard of, and that's Egypt. And they are the band Egypt. And I think just that in itself, just if you start looking for Egypt's music, is hard to find. Because obviously if you do like some searching from Egypt, you're going to find the country. And then if you do Egypt music, you're going to find a lot of stuff about Egyptian music. So you're not going to find like Egypt, the band, Washington, D.C., eventually brings you back to that place. But Jeff Broadnax, again, is pictured in this. So I have 2 picks that include Jeff. So Jeff, you deserve more, brother. And so I have you there. Jeff wasn't always a part of Egypt. There was some different incarnations of Egypt, especially they went through almost like a Spinal Tap-esque kind of singer rotation where Mike Shepard was their first singer who was eventually nominated for a Children's Grammy. All of these guys are super talented, classically trained out of the Berklee School of Music, I believe in Boston, correct? Like up in the Northeast.
Yep.
And yeah, so they, speaking of Atlantic Records, it's my understanding, and this might be another different underrated band. They had a record contract with Atlantic, I guess, about to like really come to fruition with Mike Shepard still in the band. And that record, I think Atlantic was considering either Egypt here from the DC area or the band White Trash. People remember that band White Trash. It had the song Apple Pie. So not Cherry Pie, which was Warrant, but Apple Pie. And it was in and around the early 90s. And that definitely had that funk rock sound, both bands, that probably Atlantic Records was looking for. Mike Shepard left the band. There was instability associated with Egypt. So they never had that major record label signing. But I know, like from our day, a fantastic live show, great local live band that everybody wanted to like basically open for. Like, these were the guys that you wanted to play with because they drew huge crowds and they were very talented. So Joe Lawler, the guitarist, eventually became a guitar tech for Dave Matthews. And Andy Waldeck's involved with a lot of production, and I also played with Chris Daughtry for a while. Okay. So like they've maintained musical careers, but not together as Egypt. I'm very thankful. Andy kind of keeps a little bit of the legacy alive. For a while, he was posting the whole Egypt catalog just as free MP3 downloads on an Egypt website, but maybe that costs some money. And so I haven't seen that as widely available anymore. So I had to give some local love to a local act that I had the pleasure of opening for a few times, and I know that when we come across people that you give any mention towards Egypt or talk about Egypt, they will bring up their memories of seeing that show here in the DC area.
And we got another chat message in. It says, I think a solid runner-up would be Days of Five.
And you know that
clearly it's a different band because it's not D-A-Z-E.
Right? They're not in the days. They're living the literal days from day to day, not in the haze of the days. But I'll say this.
I don't think that guy's forte is spelling, though.
The beauty of Days of Five is they're still active, like Dirty Honey. You still have a shot.
There's a lot of runway.
Right, exactly. There's a lot of runway, exactly.
When was your last show?
It was a year ago.
Okay.
But are we trying to get him to come up November 8th?
I'm in Indonesia November 8th.
Oh, that's right.
Right, I know.
So you're ruining it.
I am. But hey.
We'll get Jeff Broadnax to sing.
I was about to say, I'm still not giving up hope. Even if it's the 8th can't work out, we're going to find another day. Christmas show.
There's always another days.
Holiday show. Holidays. Happy holidays.
The STP Rage tribute, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. All right. I know that Lou, like we're following your lead on this one. I know that we left off the Killer Dwarves. I'm going to say that right out of the gate. Like I know that that's on your list, but we did cover Badlands.
Yes, Badlands obviously. Kicks obviously. I think
there's another one that's in my head, and I'm waiting for you to say it.
Killer Dwarves, obviously. I don't know if that would be my top 10, but they would be close.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought they'd be in your top 5.
No. I mean, just there's so many other good bands. I mean, you guys listed off some of them here, but I think that obviously Saigon Kick.
There it is. There, as I was waiting for.
I intentionally left that off my list.
Yeah. That was me and the Killer Dwarves too. All right, yeah.
And then another one that is a fan favorite of Stand Up and Shout. Enough's Enough.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Still
the number one, right?
All right. Yeah.
Interview Chips Enough.
I think so. At least the full interview.
Yeah. I love those guys.
Yeah. Our real, we as we do our year of review, we had our biggest reel still is, oh my gosh, why did I just, Accept, Balls to the Wall.
Really?
Yeah.
So
discover the mind-blowing talents of this unique guitar player is your current biggest one.
Wait a minute. What?
Your reels?
Huh?
Is that what you're talking about?
Well, so I'm talking. This is on TikTok. Platform you're looking at. But
I thought you were talking about the one I was talking about at the beginning of the show.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what's the number on that one, John?
Close to 6,500.
Okay. Yeah. Balls to the Wall is at 33,000.
The next one down from that's a Sebastian Bach's Controversial Past.
Yeah.
That's at 4,700.
Okay. Yeah.
Dude, what's up with Accept?
I know. I have no idea.
So
Except they're savvy.
Yeah. Right.
So they're when I was doing research, and I would just put in Google, most underrated rock bands or most underrated metal bands.
Mm-hmm.
There were tons of comments on Reddit. Accept.
It's their army.
So,
their army is their army. They're loyal.
And I can certainly see it, right? Because they got that MTV play, but they've been around for a long, long time, and they're still playing and recording and releasing music. But I think they've got a group of hardcore dedicated fans, we talked about the thrash fans,
right?
But they just haven't had super mainstream success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, John. Anything that any underrated bands that are on your list? Any Killer Dwarves?
Not Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey?
No, she's already made it, so I'm not too worried about that. She'll be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame soon enough.
I was about to say she's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of
Fame. Not
yet.
So are a lot of other people.
None that we mentioned today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you put a post up about I'm blanking on the person who just passed. Oh, David Roach
of Junkyard.
So
and that was, I wasn't sure. That's another great underrated act. As we're talking about this, and a great live act too.
Right.
So I wasn't sure if he was going to make your list. I had to say, and it was a close call on mine also.
Right. But my point is, very well stated.
Mm-hmm.
We're not all going to be around forever.
Right.
So buy the tickets,
go see the shows.
Go see the shows. And in that same vein, we got a couple shows coming up here at the Salisbury Center.
And I'm going to throw in the quote, when we saw Pucifer and The Perfect Circle fronted by Maynard James Keenan on his birthday tour. It wasn't his birthday, but the birthday tour. Even if it's your friends, go see them, because they won't be playing all the time. So see them while you can. Even if they suck, go out and see them.
Yep.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So
especially if they suck. Nobody else comes to see them.
Coming to Salisbury Center Friday, September the 12th, Thunderstruck with special guest Effidal.
Right, I know.
So
yeah.
Likely have a little chat up session that night.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, November the 7th, the band Sabbath, a tribute to Black Sabbath, will be here.
Love it.
Anything other?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hank Jr. tribute. Actually, it's not a rock, but that's coming up.
There's rock and roll with Hank Jr. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And then December, I'd have to look at my calendar. Like first week of December or so is going to be Lounge Lizard and Evil Empire. So STP and Rage.
Cool.
Tribute bands
Very
that
cool.
are really good.
Yeah. All right, that's news.
Yeah, so we've got starting to get some decent concerts coming in once a month right now. I'm going to start working on getting more and more booked as we're opening for weekdays and for NFL football.
Cool.
So we're going to be open a lot more and trying to add more music and fun and variety
and food.
Not just fight. Yes, and yes, the new menu with the gravy stuffed biscuits are ready to go.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh my God. What? Oh, Manassas. What was my? I had a name, and now like the name just was like lost on me.
Oh, Manassas lava cakes or something like that.
Manassas lava cakes. That was my name. Yeah. Yeah.
Question is, will you guys do the hot wing challenge on the show?
Sure, of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's schedule that.
Yeah.
'Cause that's gonna be something new. We're gonna have the hot wing challenge where you win a T-shirt and get on our wall of fame and all that. It's just eating 3 chicken tenders. But it's gonna be our homemade or house-made Nashville hot sauce mixed with 3 different things in various proportions.
Will that be right before the F It All show?
We can do that.
That would be a great show with those guys.
Let's make those guys eat it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're gonna have, if you listen to the hot ones, the bomb, which is always on there, is one of the hot ones we're mixing with
exactly.
it.
Yeah.
That's 135,000 Scovilles probably, and then we've got another one that is Dr. Dave's. Well, Mad Dog's the highest one. So there's.
So do you have to dip it in the sauce and eat it? What's the challenge?
The tender is going to be tossed in the sauce, so they're going to have basically 10 minutes to eat all 3 of them.
Ooh,
and they'll get some ice cream at the end to cool things off. A T-shirt. They're going to get a headband to wear. We're going to stream them live whenever they have it. But the number 2 sauce is going to be about 600,000 Scovilles.
Oh,
it's I think it's Dave's Gourmet. It's a ghost pepper one, and then the hottest one is going to be Magnum 357,
Mad Dog
357, a million Scoville.
Damn!
And then if you get all that, we're just going to pepper spray you. But you can't eat them all back. There's a time set between each wing. You can't just down them and be like, okay, done.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes to eat the first one, then there's
Gotta
30-second
let it
breaks, and
burn.
then 3 minutes for the next one, and then 4 minutes, something like that.
If someone completes a challenge, you don't follow them in the bathroom, like.
Nah.
Not allowed to use the bathroom here either.
Yeah, so gonna try to do some fun things with the food, with the entertainment, more comedy, more concerts.
Cool.
So,
Or micro wrestling.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Right on.
Actually, October and December for that.
Excellent. Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool.
Except for it's called Little Mania. Micro Wrestling's another company. Just to clarify.
All right.
I was just trying to use the PC term.
Yeah. Well, these guys call themselves Little Mania Midget Wrestling, so.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, so lots of fun coming up.
Excellent.
And get your swag.
That's right.
GetWylde.com/stand up and shout.
Get your shirt. Like the holiday season's going to be here before you know
That's
it.
right.
Love it.
We'll have your Bah Humbug list.
Of course. All right. John, are you hearing that that's the wrap-up cue?
Trying to get the damn song playing.
Oh, I was going to say, because one time we ambushed you. One time I think you were like sipping on Dr. Pepper. You're like, wait, we're finished?
Always sipping on Dr. Pepper. Have a good show, guys. All right.
Awesome.
Great show, guys.
Oh,
See you in a couple weeks.
Right on.